All right, so we're live.
Hello.
Hello. How are you doing? This is the weird part, getting started. Like we're here. Okay, so we're here at our studio in Madison. This is where we record stuff, and we have lots of gear behind us. So if you want to say anything in the chat stream or whatever, go right ahead. We're here to talk about that. So this is we're Lorenzo's Music. We're here to talk about our new EP that we just put out called Spaghetti Midwestern, which actually I wish Eric. So Eric isn't here. Eric, our guitar player, he's in Boston, right?
Boston.
Mm-hmm. So he's the one who actually came up with the name, or at least it was a joke that he made one night when we were saying, "Hey, let's do a spaghetti western themed EP," and I think he just said we could like jokingly like, "Hey, we'll call it a Spaghetti Midwestern." And I was like, "Good, now we don't have to think of a name."
Yeah.
So
the context was we really were just kind of struggling. Like, what do we call this? Just giving it some random name after one of the song titles didn't seem right. Cause it's more of a concept album than I think we've ever done before. In that sense.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, we've never done something that's just purely inspired off of like one nugget of an idea that we illustrated in 4 different ways, right? I mean, like, this is very unique that way. So we're like, what can we do? And Eric's like, oh, well, it's kind of spaghetti Midwestern, right? And we laugh about it. And then the more we thought about it, like, yeah, that's pretty fitting. So I guess that would go to, do you want to discuss what the inspiration was for the...
Yeah, so what actually it was, the first song, the one we're going to play in just a second here, the first song that's on the EP was also the first song that we wrote, and it wasn't in that realm. We were working on the song, and it just wasn't clicking. We had kind of a groove. We were going through it. The chorus wasn't right. It was built off of it was a keyboard line. We'll get into that after the song plays. But we had a discussion one night, and I don't remember how it came about, but you guys said something from, I think I played the Isaac Hayes song, Walk On By. And I was saying, and we were talking about doing a groove like that, and I said it's kind of like, it's a funk song, but it sounds like those spaghetti western, it's going to be hard for me not to say spaghetti Midwestern. It's like a spaghetti western soundtrack, and I was really into those, and I'd been listening to some recently, the ones from the 70s, and I think you guys were like, what if we did a bunch of songs like that? Like wrote a soundtrack. Right, you said write a soundtrack.
That's what spurred it.
Yeah.
We thought of, I think Rob came up with the idea of like, what if we did a modern day spaghetti western soundtrack? And
it was more than that. You wanted to do a movie. You wanted to shoot videos. You wanted to create an entire...
Right.
We always start like this big, and we whittle it down to
enough time to make it this
four
big.
4 songs in 11 minutes.
Right.
That's about what we can handle.
Yeah.
So listening to these, I mean, I still get the idea, of putting that together. It's like it's still like developing in my head.
Yeah.
It's still fresh, and I'd like to be able to find some time to make that happen.
But we're also not video production people, so we can't go making a movie. So then we said, what's the next best thing? Let's pretend we're writing a soundtrack for one. So even as we did it, it was kind of like we were building like ideas of like what would be in the movie while we were doing it. I remember you and Cliff were going back and forth while we were working on this one, going, it's this guy, and this is what he's doing. And I'm like, those aren't what the lyrics are, but I like where your head's at.
Yeah.
The lyrics are actually based off of oddly enough, when the song was made, before it was a spaghetti western, I wrote notes because I'm going to forget everything. So there was a song called,
if you could see his notes, by the way, like, they're all like slanted.
It looks like a crazy person wrote it. There's misspellings. It's very small, but it was, so the lyrics were actually, and the idea of it was inspired by Midway, the song Midway by the Bad Bad Hats, and not a spaghetti western themed thing at all, but I liked the way that song was. It really emoted kind of well. But now when they brought up the spaghetti western thing, the funny thing is I've had a note that I've written down, or I wrote it in some like notebook or journal or wherever I write lyrics and stuff, that it would be really cool to do like an epic sort of spaghetti western themed thing. And then the second they said that, I was like, I want to do that.
Ding.
I've been doing that. So all of a sudden we were on board. We came back in and basically started rewriting this song. and like Rob started playing guitar on it. Cliff started playing guitar and bass. We just started moving around parts. All of a sudden, Rob was playing keyboard, and Cliff was playing guitar, and then I got behind the drums at one point, stuff like that. So before we talk more about it, I want to play the song first, and then we can actually go into like the mechanics of this one. So this is the song "Driving in the Dark," which ironically, from the lyrics that I wrote first doing this, that line that this title was based on isn't even in the song anymore. That's how much it changed. But we always called it that, so it would have been silly to change the name. So let's see. Let's get that song going here. Now I got to cue up the music. Mute this for a second so we can turn on the
in between two places that I still go. I have them put away. Always after something I can't say. Is there time on the way? Didn't want you to go. Didn't want you to go. I know the words you said are nearby. Something that's there, I should not. That one light on the way. Didn't want you to go. Didn't want you to go.
All right, so that's that one, and we were discussing some of my crazy person notes that I have written down here. So that one actually, so it was the first song we recorded when the whole idea came up, and it was the last song, the last song we finished because we kept having trouble with the chorus, and I think the main problem was because we kept the original chorus from the original version of the song,
Yeah.
and it kept getting crazier and crazier and crazier.
It was just more of a rock chorus that fit less and less to like the vibe that we're going with.
Yeah, and we kept going back to the Isaac Hayes Hot Buttered Soul album and the groove on that one, and that's how we got it. And when we had that discussion about the spaghetti western thing, we were out in the other room there, and right away we came in, started messing around with stuff. The keyboard line that I originally wrote for it, that got switched to the bass line. So Cliff started playing the bass. Rob started doing the groove from listening to the Hot Buttered Soul album, and I just turned on the recorder. So the actual drum and bass line is one track, and we wanted to keep it, so we did. So that's all on one track. And that harmonica that comes in at the end that sounds like it's wavering, that's because I started playing the harmonica part that I came up with on the keyboard right behind Cliff here, over there. I don't know if you can even see it. There it is. So I started playing the harmonica sound, and that was actually in the track, and we kept it, and then I overdubbed more of it later. But
yeah, and just to go along with that, how we recorded the drums and bass, it's one of those things where sometimes a weird limitation in what can almost be looked like as a flaw at first ends up becoming a cool thing, and that like there's this almost like phasing cancellation
Yeah.
that happens between some bass notes and the kick drum that we couldn't fix.
Right.
And at first we're like, oh, that's too bad. But then the more we listen to it, we're like, no, that's a feature, not a bug. You know,
Right.
like that.
Yeah.
That is
turned it
really
around.
cool, and I wanted to hear more of it. Like I wish it happened more consistently, but when it does happen, it's really cool, and it's just one of those examples of like some of the cool stuff you end up loving is stuff you didn't do on purpose.
And it was a recording that we captured when we were in the moment,
Yeah.
and we had
Oh,
the
yeah.
idea. And if we were to recreate it, it would just be us trying to recreate that idea. And it was like, just keep it. Who cares? So that was how that part came about. And then the guitar part. So this track is funny too because it's also the least amount of tracking that we have. There's only like that
Yeah.
one track with the drums and bass on the same one, and then the vocal line, then the harmonica line, and then the guitar, which we didn't even have. There was no guitar line. We couldn't come up with stuff.
Well, that's the caveat here. Is like it's not like we didn't try as
Right.
many parts. This is the song where we just got rid of the most parts that we tried because nothing was quite
nothing was
working.
Right.
And then to Tom's point about the last guitar track, we just Eric, our guitarist, was in here, and we're just like, here, we're just gonna run it. Why don't you just riff? And we queued up some spaghetti western songs like to give the idea of like we
Yeah,
wanted,
Eric had not been involved in this process yet.
yeah, we
This is
we
first
had this
entrance
idea
here.
that we wanted a big, grandiose, like trilling kind of spaghetti western guitar like you hear in the track, but that was about all we told him, and he just kind of riffed and was doing everything, just took one take over the whole thing, and we ended up using it.
If I remember correctly from my notes, it says the guitar influence was from the Chapel Shootout song from A Few Dollars More,
Yeah.
where it was a dugga dugga dugga
Yep.
dugga. Only theirs was more of like a dugga 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 dugga. And we wanted to also get some of that aggressiveness back that we had when we did the original one. So had Eric run with it. He kind of played along. We had him play along with the track, and I just turned on the track and had him go. So he messed around with it, and he was like, I don't know what to do. And the song ended, and I said, just keep going. You had a couple ideas in there that were really
Oh,
cool.
that's right.
Yeah, and so I just left it running. We just had, so he played along with the song and was trying to fit it in. And I left the click going. It went way past the song, and then he played for like 5 more minutes past his part. Did a couple of things that he thought was cool, and I was like, there's a couple of things in there that were totally awesome. And
he's like, all right.
he's like,
And
okay.
then next week,
Yeah.
Tom chops it up, puts it in, and Eric's like, what?
I
Yeah,
took
it was nice. It was
I
cool.
took it home. Yeah, I took it home and I chopped up the entire guitar line is different parts over a period of 5 minutes that I moved in different places to kind of give it that line. So he originally did the da-na-na-na-na that comes in the beginning. There we go. Did it come up? We back?
Oh, no.
Okay, we're back.
We are?
Sorry. We just realized, luckily we've got the thing stream here. Sorry
Yeah,
about
we're-
that. So I don't know where we were, but yeah, that's the story behind this one. I think that's,
Boring recap. We were just talking about how, like, we really just let a part roll and tried, like, 10 different things and just ended up cherry picking what we liked, and how that's become more of a way that we've been writing and recording instead of the traditional way of, like, let's really get this song down and let's play.
Right.
Happens quite often. I mean, then we'll come in and re-record it.
Yep.
But the idea is, like, instead of, like, forcing it as a group to everyone individually to come up and have a perfectly tight part, we piecemeal it.
that makes me, okay, so that's the other thing is we realized too, along with, hey, we like the way that one track was done. Let's keep it. Let's not re-record it. We also were like, when we would work on stuff, that was the first time we decided to start using a click track all the time. So when we're at practice, when we're working on something, we set up the click track to the time for anything we could use later. The break that's right after the beginning intro, right after the beginning guitar part, where it goes da 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 da, that is from a handheld recorder that we had in the room because we were trying to think of in the Walk On By song. They have this big build, and then they do this sort of to bring it back down to the groove, they do like this fill. So we practiced a couple of different ways of doing it, and we have actually like 5 minutes of us doing different
right.
hits. So all we did
That's
was
right.
we went ba-da, ba-ba, ba-da, ba-da, psh, ba-da-ba-ba-ba, different things like that. And we took the recording from that and just plopped it into the recorder and used that. So that's actually not even something, a lot of this isn't even stuff starting to be stuff we tracked, and all of it is just make it. Do we have to set up the mics while we were
Yeah.
working on it? It's like,
we,
just get it done,
some
put it in there.
tracks were even done with the audio from a video that we took with an iPhone or whatever.
So some of it is from a live stream that we did on our Facebook group. It's just, let's put it in there. Let's move on. Let's make the songs and let's keep going. So speaking of that, let's move on to the next
Yes.
song. Here is the one that is song number 2. It's called Winter Ends, and I'll play the song first, and then we'll talk more about it afterwards.
It was time, all that I know, that strange place where the years go. I can feel the fall creep in, and the winter brings it to an end. Oh, oh, when the winter brings it to an end. Oh, oh, from where we've been, when the winter brings it to an end. Oh, will it feel the same as here? Now that you're here, what does that mean? Can we skip ahead from where we've been? No change at all, it's not too near. Or will it feel the same as here? Oh, oh, when the winter ends. Oh, when will it begin? Oh, oh, when the winter ends. When the winter brings it to an end. Oh, oh, when the winter ends. Oh, when will it begin? Oh, oh, when the winter ends. When the winter brings it to an end.
All right, so that was Winter Ends by us.
Your traditional format.
So this song originally was created from, it actually had been sitting in our Google Drive for a while because we record on Ardour, an open source and free DAW. And Cliff had shared one of the things that he did. He was trying out at home because we want to be able to record at home as well. Just make the music whenever, wherever. And Cliff was doing a bass line at home, and that whole thing is based, like, it sat forever. He sent me it and he's like, hey, I had this bass idea, and we were like, that's cool, let's work on it. But we were was it when we were still finishing up the last album? It might have
I'm
been.
not sure.
I don't know how long we sat on it.
Whatever the case, like when I recorded it, I didn't necessarily intend it to actually be for sure something we worked on. I
Right,
really
yeah.
didn't like it that much. It was just a dynamic thing so I could,
Work
test
on
my
your
mixing
technique.
on
Right.
my home recording and everything. And you guys actually liked it, and I'm like, oh, okay, I'll keep working on it. I don't like it. And then you came up with the drum part, and it just locked in so well. I was like, oh, okay.
Well-
I get it now. I get why you liked it now, because now all of a sudden it makes
Yeah,
sense.
I didn't know what we'd end up putting down on it to compliment, what you threw down, but I certainly felt something was there. And it took a little bit to get that to come out, that's for sure.
Well, and when we first did it, it was a straight drum beat. You had
Yes.
a groove that you were doing with it. So it was a straight trap kit drum beat, and that's how we had tracked it. We were working on it, and then we were messing around with guitar lines. Oh, and Cliff he got an idea to add this buzz bass part.
Yeah.
And even in the chorus and stuff. So we ended up layering 2 bass tracks, and there's one that's just kind of like wow, 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 wow.
Yeah.
And you did that.
A lot of distortion and fingernails were involved.
Yeah, he plays it with his fingernails, and we dubbed that, and then Rob was sitting waiting for us while we were tracking that, and he started noodling around with the guitar part and came up with a bunch of the guitar that we used. Like, we took some of the parts that he did and chopped them up and moved them into different places in the arrangement. But Rob and I came here another night to kind of work on the guitar and figure out more of a cohesive way of putting it. And the guitar that you were playing, which is actually one of your old guitars, like it's a Squire or something like that, or not even?
Yeah, it's kind of, it wants to be a Squire, but it didn't quite make it, didn't pass graduation.
Yeah. So he got really, like, I have video of it. He got really annoyed with his guitar, and he was basically arguing with his guitar. It was hilarious, and you were getting super frustrated, but he was actually writing good stuff, so we got some good guitar stuff. And as we were listening back, he didn't like it, so he got behind his drums and just started going ba 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 along with while we were listening. And I was like, actually, that's really cool. It reminded me of the drums in like Jane's Addiction's "Chip Away" or the Tom Waits song "Pulled on Trouble's Braids." So we tracked that. So we did guitars and drums that night, and it turned out really cool. And then later on, we added vibrato to it. I wanted the guitar part to have vibrato like the Nancy Sinatra song "Bang Bang, My Baby Shot Me Down." So that's how that guitar line ended up sounding like that. And what else? And this song actually is another one where we took from a live Facebook video stream, because originally we were trying to come up with a chorus, and we thought we should be writing a chorus, but it was already kind of flowing, so we just needed something to, in the spaghetti western genre, there's always parts where, like, say in the, what is it, Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, they have the thing that just all of a sudden goes, just like loud noise hits, and then they kind of swell back down. Well, that was what we tried one night messing around at practice, and we were live streaming while we were working on the song.
Yeah, and then we combined that idea with the pan flute, which is also like a kind of this traditional sound you get in a lot of spaghetti westerns, but we layered it on top of that. Wah, wah. Like, we combined those two parts and made it into, I guess, a chorus of sorts. Like, it's not there's no vocals, but that's effectively what our chorus is.
Well, and originally that pan flute part was going to be, it was going to be vocals, so it was going to be much like the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly soundtrack, or say the other influence that I was using that sounded similar was the song Crispus Attucks from the soundtrack for Luke Cage, and it's these choruses of people that just also go, oh. I don't know why I sang that, but I did.
Nice.
I wasn't prepared, and you could tell, like, it was like, why am I doing that? Anyway.
Which is a cool soundtrack.
It's a great soundtrack.
Tom brought that in, and I was like, okay. I mean, I watched Luke Cage, and I remember thinking, that's decent stuff. But when you listen to it alone, I recommend it. Like, there's some really cool ideas going on in that stuff.
Totally. Yeah, and so instead of using the vocal part, I was like, well, pan flute also works too. So that's where the pan flute part came up. Just happened to have one on the keyboard, so that's what I use. And that's just a straight out of the box pan flute. So
modern technology.
Although we do have a harmonium, so I can use that too. We tried that actually, the harmonium, and that didn't sound as good.
It wasn't the sound.
Didn't care for it.
Don't force it.
And I think that's everything we got from that one. And Eric added so in the live recording that we spliced into it, Eric is the one that came up with that loud, like, dee-new, and that was our ah. So there you go. That's that one.
You sounded a little Zeppelin-y there.
I did. That was kind of like immigrant songy.
A little bit.
All right, and then the next one is. This one was originally titled Phone Song, and I'll tell you why after we listen to the song. But it's actually called When You're Not There. So here is that one.
I've done so many things. When I think that it's time, there's more for you. And oh, I can't remember how it was. I needed more than I did before. I lose out on anything I ask for when you're not there. I lose out on anything I live for when you're not there.
All right. So that was actually When You're Not There, but it was originally called Phone Song because the beginning part is what the song originally was. I was out here one night and there were these chords. They were like old notes, and I was trying to figure out what the heck the chords were. And again, it was during the time period when we made sure that we had click tracks on all the time. So I'm out here and I just turned. Actually, let me back up. What it was first is there was this drum beat, an old industrial band from late 80s called Leibach. They did a song called Wir Personen. And they're a weird, like, German, very
How'd you even
abstract.
come across them?
I used to be a huge fan of Wax Trax records. So I basically had, like, if it was on Wax Trax records back in the 80s and 90s, I pretty much owned it, yeah. And one of the albums that always intrigued me was this one by the band Leibach. So they had this drum beat that was very much like I can't even describe it, but the way it goes in with the drum beat, it's not what you expect. And I always thought it was a cool drum beat. So I started trying to learn how to play that. I was out here by myself and I got behind Rob's drums and I turned on my phone, set it right next to the drum set, push record, and I had the click track going in the headphones and I started playing that drum beat. And if you listen too, you can hear creaking in it. I was wearing my leather jacket at the time and you can hear my leather jacket creaking during that drum beat.
Again, a feature.
A feature,
Like, it's
right.
I really
it was
love
kind of cool.
Yeah, I love it.
But then on top of it, what created the sound was I took that recording, played it, uploaded it to our Google Drive, took out my tablet, put that in front of the piano, and then there were these chords that I found and I wanted to try to play them. So I turned on that drum beat and played them with it. And the hesitation of the breaks between it was me going, how does that chord go? And I recorded the drums coming through my tablet. My phone was sitting next to it and I was recording on my phone, playing the keyboard, and that is the track from my phone that we ended up using for the beginning and the break of that song. And that's what's in there. So from that point, we built the song off of that.
Yep. No, that's,
Yeah, pretty much.
and as you can imagine, hearing the convoluted way that happened, it was a very unique. It just ended up. It inspired a certain style of playing along with it because it was so unique in how it sounded.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it was cool. And then
Yeah, we came back through and we tried to overlay some trap kit to it,
Yeah.
and we didn't get a whole lot to go with because what you already put down, prior to was pretty much the the foundation of it all.
You
But
just had
we
more
did get a-
character
Yeah.
due to its
Right.
weirdness.
Yeah.
So you really couldn't make it
Improve
better,
on it. Yeah.
right? But so I ended up working on a sub kick drum microphone from the parts left around the
Let's
house.
get the light into this. So
right?
there's a speaker in this drum, but it's also a speaker that's being used as a microphone, which has the hookup back there.
This is just the decorative side. It just is.
Oh,
Rather than
I
looking
see.
at the empty shell, I thought I'd put. It was from a car speaker setup from a long time ago, and it was just a subwoofer tube. So one end was the speaker, and the other end was a ported end with all the components in it. So I just got rid of the tube and put it in an old drum shell from my youngest boy's drum kit that we had lying around the house. It all kind of
That is a
fit.
tiny drum. I never
Right?
thought about
Yeah.
that before.
And it really responds well to the low end reproduction of
Yeah.
the bass drum.
Yeah, and
So-
how explain how you had that set up when you were recording it? Because I just thought that's cool.
Well, just placing it right in front of the kick drum,
Mic end.
Right,
This
mic.
this is effectually the mic
right? Yeah. So this is the diaphragm of the
diaphragm. Thank you.
yes, the voice coil of the speaker is the diaphragm of the microphone. So just putting that nice up and close to the drum head, replicated or reproduced those little frequencies.
Yeah,
that
that's how we get those
really kind of tickle one's fancy.
Yeah.
cool kind of sonic booms going on.
Yeah.
And then that's why they
Uh-huh.
sound so they still have an analog feel to them because they are actually an analog sound.
Yeah. Yeah, created.
Just lost his thought there. That's awesome. And then the vocal lines actually was I wanted to try an aggressive Al Green style. So
I forgot that.
yeah, there's I love the way that Al Green would hold the notes with just like Let's Stay Together, that song that he does. And I wanted to do that, but singing light in this song didn't seem right. I wanted to give it some aggression, so I held on to the vocal styling ways, but did it in a much louder way. I feel like I didn't say that right. But okay. But-
Aggressive. It was
Aggressive,
more
more
on-
aggressive
on
way.
the aggressive and less on the soulful.
oh my God, we should have called the album Aggressive Al Green.
Yeah.
It would have been awesome. But that
We
would
would've
have
got
made
more
sense.
hits.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, Louis Armstrong did something similar too with his vocals and with his trumpet.
Well,
Just hung on to it. Just
yeah, totally. And that's exactly it. I wanted to be able to hold out some of the notes because I just think that helped the song along. And then a lot of the buzz that was in there, it was inspired by stuff like, let's see, what did I... Along with the Al Green thing, another thing that I liked was the way that the Eels did the song Tremendous Dynamite,
Yeah,
where it's like
that's
over
right.
distorted. But the hold notes were inspired by, oh my God, this great song that I heard by, I'm going to mispronounce this. It's French, but I heard the song somewhere and it's beautiful. And I love the style of it. And it's kind of Western-y, but it's Parce K? Sorry, butchering that.
Poor
By Charles Aznavour. So I'm just saying words that I'm probably mispronouncing and nobody knows, but it's a beautiful song. And then also in the styles of, what is it? Gambling Priest by Danger Mouse. So it's that sort of, they did a sort of a spaghetti Western themed album too. And that was kind
We
of
definitely. I remember referencing that one a couple
Yeah.
times.
yeah, that was,
Yeah, and it's funny because we keep naming all these inspirations for what we did, and then you listen to what we ended up like the Isaac Hayes for the first song, Al Green for this, and it's like at first it's like what? It's like that's kind of what we do though. Like
yeah, exactly.
it's like going back to the first song, like the first few versions were really groovy.
Yes.
I mean, it was way more Isaac Hayes, and we're like, we got to get this groove out. Not because we don't like groove, we like groove, but that's not the kind of stuff we were trying to write.
Right.
Exactly.
So a lot of it is like deconstructing the idea of what we're inspired by, still keeping what keeps it cool, but also making it the weird shit that we like. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like it's like we just enjoy just being a little off from like expectations as far as like sounds and song structure and stuff. And I forgot about the Al Green, but now that you say that, it totally makes sense to me.
Yeah, well, and that's why
great.
I liked when Eric said we should call it Spaghetti Midwestern, because we're taking the info, like during the whole process, we did listen to, like, say, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly soundtrack. His Name is King, the song Django, like stuff, we would reference that stuff all the time, but we didn't want to just straight up do that. It's like, what could we do to kind of make it a Lorenzo version of it? And I think that's why calling it Spaghetti Midwestern is the way to go, because it's like our Midwestern take on, our desert is winter. Like, it's what, 2 degrees outside right now or something? That's our desert. So we kind of wrote in that realm, and that's why it's kind of a Western theme, or a winter themed Western soundtrack.
Yeah.
So
my only worry is that people see the name and think it's going to be like Youper versions of Spaghetti Westerns.
yeah, it's not a Weird Al Yankovic album. But, and Cliff actually did most of the guitar work on this album. Him and I sat down here. This song actually went really fast. We actually ended up recording this song very fast. And Cliff and I sat down one session and did a good majority of a lot of the stuff that we built on top of. And then we did another session right after that where Rob was here, did stuff with the weird drum that he showed up going, hey, I have this thing. Okay, let's use it.
Yeah,
let's see what it sounds like.
That came out of left field because you hadn't ever talked about it. Also, you're like, this is a microphone. We're like, what?
And it was awesome. So we're like, let's use that.
Looks like a drum.
Yeah. And then
Have you been drinking?
Drink this. You will see. You will see it is a microphone.
And then
Are you being metaphorical?
did you guys have anything else you wanted?
Yeah.
All right, we'll move on to the
Let's
next
do the
one.
last
So
one.
the very last one is called Just in Case. And funny story, if you listen to my podcast, American Bandito, this is the theme song to it. So we'll talk more about this afterwards. Let me start this up.
I went on knowing somehow it seemed off. I'm left with no time, even the moment's lost. I'm stuck because I missed it. Can't stop thinking of one time when it seems so much more than I credit for. Just in case I might forget. Just in case it trips me up. Just in case it will be better, just like that other place. I can fight, but I won't. I let it come to this, and I'm sure that one time can come around again. Just in case I might forget. Just in case it trips me up. Just in case it will be better, just like that other place. Just in case I might forget. Just in case it trips me up. Just in case it will be better, just like that other place. Just in case.
Oh, didn't mean to do that. There we go. All right, we're back on. So that was the song Just in Case. And
Just in case you didn't catch that the first time.
And I just realized I never did the thing where I switched the thing. Oh, well, you got to watch us talk while you were listening to it. Sorry about that. Yeah, lucky. So that song was, all right, so there is a bass line that is MIDI. It's a MIDI bass line, and it goes dun, 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 dun. That's actually inspired by the song Fuck the Pain Away by Peaches. If you're not familiar, go check it out. It's an awesome song. If you watch Letterkenny, it's during
one of the many fight scenes.
The fight. Actually, it's in the scene where they're at a wedding and they beat up some of the I think the people in Quebec. They beat them up in a hotel room. Quebec. There's great fishing in Quebec. But it's during a fight scene in that. But I had actually been looking for that song forever. I saw the movie, and I apologize for this. I saw the movie Lost in Translation. Didn't care for it. I know it won an Oscar. I
didn't like it.
I didn't care for it.
All hate mail goes to
it's an entire soundtrack while someone looks out the window. I'm sorry, but one of the things was during the strip club scene that song "Fuck the Pain Away" by Peaches was playing, and I remember being in the theater going, "What is this song? This is awesome!" And I'd been looking for it for years. I didn't know how to find it, and then finally, when it was on Letterkenny, pulled up my phone and said, "What song is this?" And it told me. And I just think that bass line, it's so great.
It's a jam.
And it's just a woman that's recording on a MIDI keyboard.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. See her perform the song live. She does a dance and she just basically runs the keyboard and then sings into a mic. She's awesome. So if you get a chance, check it out. Anyway, but this is also around the time where we started we really adapted the whole like guided by voices, like just record the parts. We'll keep them, make them sound however we can, or find the groove, catch a moment. And this was layered with so many like recorded at home, recorded here, programmed, just like put the song together. We started really just, the drums are 3 layers deep. There's a drum line that I programmed using Hydrogen, which is a free and open source drum machine. And then Rob on top of that built a groove with it on his electronic drums. And then there are parts that sound like kind of a whooshing
Depends
whooshing
what part
drum.
of the country you're from.
Yeah, exactly. That is Rob playing drums where I think we just turned on the harmonica mic. We recorded the drums using the harmonica mic in the room.
Yeah.
And that's that. I don't know why I keep mimicking the sounds of stuff. I need
it helps reference it.
Totally.
And it amuses me.
Yeah, I know. It amuses me too.
It's a bonus. But yeah, no, I mean, again, it added that harmonica mic added just a great lo-fi sound without having to, let's apply this filter and do this. It was like we found a way to get that sound that we wanted with our actual gear, which was fun.
And the groove that we were basing it on was the song His Name is King, which is from, I forget what soundtrack that's from, but it's a spaghetti western song.
The very famous one.
Yeah.
Everyone's heard it at some point.
Once you hear it, you're like, oh, that song. So we based it on that, but I also was really into, I don't know why I got nostalgic and was listening to the song Turn It On by the Flaming Lips from their Satellite something or other album. I can't think of the entire name of it, but the Flaming Lips. And I wanted to have us do the guitar line where that song, when it kicks in, and it's like dun 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 dun. So I tried to mimic it at home on a $70 keyboard that I bought from Target, plugged into my DAW.
Cheap old Casio.
Yep. And so I did. That's how that da 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 da, and I ended up manipulating the sound of it through the MIDI.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but that was, I think you were originally just trying to do that as a scratch track, so that the guitar could play it.
Exactly.
And then we tried it with the guitar, and well, it was played flawlessly. It was like, no, it's cooler on your cheap old Casio.
Yeah, it turned up to be a lot more fun on that.
Sometimes.
So that became a keyboard part, and that's how that one happened. Also, one of the things because of that, so then that kind of while it was a cool effect, it was like, it seems like it's losing its spaghetti westernness thing, although the guitar line is very spaghetti western.
Yeah.
So we decided, oh shit, we're frozen again. Sorry, hold on. Are we frozen? No, we're not.
No,
all right. Sorry, we have a monitor here. It's just lagging. That's just me. I apologize. But So then we decided, on Ecstasy of Gold from The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, they have a whistling part. So in that Spaghetti Midwest, sorry, I did it again. That Spaghetti Western, there's a whistling part.
Right.
So we actually
Drink.
we decided to use Rob's. Why did we use your drum thing? So we recorded the whistle using the drum mic.
Just out of curiosity,
Yeah, I guess just see what it
You know?
sounds like.
right?
And he spent all that time making the mic. It would be a shame to only use it once.
That's
So
true.
We'd use it again.
But here's the funny part. You ever tried to record a whistle? It ain't easy. So not only did we not have an idea, we were just spitballing ideas for a whistle part. So I just turned on record. Eric tried first. Cliff tried next. I think I tried. We all tried whistling, and it was like, it's all breathy. It's weird. We couldn't come up with a good line. And then,
Ingenious Rob.
yeah, and then Rob walks up to it,
Decided
starts
to-
whistling. He whistled for like 2-3 minutes.
Did you want to share the secret
Yeah.
that you shared with us afterward?
Yeah.
Long afterward. We didn't
What's the
realize.
secret to
Yeah.
recording a whistle?
Right. So instead of exhaling your whistle, you inhale your whistle.
You suck in.
Yeah, you intake that
Maybe your
air.
sex tape.
Well done.
Thank you.
Yeah. And then, so basically, Rob was doing whistling stuff. I walked out of the room for a minute and heard him do something. I was like, that's the one. So I found that line that he did, cut it up, and put it in the song. And that's how that whistle part
Yep,
came.
that stuck.
And I think that's everything.
Yeah, can we mention about the playlist that we'll
Yes.
have later?
Yeah. You want me to mention it?
Well, no, I mean, I can mention it. Go ahead.
No,
You
I can
mention
do it.
You're gonna put it together.
So while we were doing this, so a lot of the songs that we mentioned, whenever we're working on songs, even if we use them or don't use them, or there's an idea, we'll think about songs by other people, songs for inspiration, and I'll create a playlist and share it with the band. And we've got playlists for all of these songs that inspired the making of this album. And I'm going to be putting this playlist on YouTube for each song. So here's a playlist for Driving in the Dark and the songs that influenced it. And I'm probably going to be chopping in some of the ideas behind why we used it, why it's on the playlist, and putting that on our YouTube channel. So I'll be sharing that on our website later on. It'll be posted to our YouTube page, all that stuff. And I'll be doing like maybe one a week. So it'll be like a nice little radio thing for you to listen to, of just a bunch of weird mixture of. It's
Yeah,
a
good
fun
music.
playlist because it's weird.
It's really. There's some commonality that you get from it all, but they're very diverse songs, and
Yeah.
it's just fun actually just listening to the songs. Yeah.
So we'll be putting that out so you can hear the songs that inspired the album, and I think it'll be neat. It'll be something fun to listen to, and maybe even chop in some notes about why we did it, some videos in between the playlist while you listen to it. So that's one of the things we're going to do. Oh, another thing I'd like to mention as well. This whole album, not only do we record only on free and open source software, but we also, all these songs, we share them and collaborate when we take it home and stuff. I have a GitHub repository. Lorenzo's music is on GitHub, and our actual working version of these songs, I'm talking
The
from
Ardour files.
the Ardour
Yeah.
files
The
themselves.
stems
They're not
and
stems.
everything.
They're
Oh, no, they're not
They're
stems.
not
I'm
stems.
sorry,
It's
you're
the
right,
actual
you're right.
working file.
Yeah, you're right.
So you could download it, open up Ardour, and you have our sessions and all the recordings, and you can mess with it and remix it if you want. And the beauty part is you get to see the process, like where the finished songs are like way down the timeline. And you can, in the beginning is like the first version of the song. Then later on, it's a second version of the song. Then you get to see how it progressed, and you can take all of that and manipulate it and record it, or
Yeah, it's
take the parts and use them for your own thing or whatever you want to do. But it's a full-on DAW. You download it and edit away on the actual songs that we put out there. So that's another thing we've been doing. So I think, I want to say I should have this link up, but I don't. So I'm going to guess and say it's lorenzosmusic.github.com or github.com/lorenzosmusic. It's one of those.
You'll get it up.
Yeah,
eventually.
but I'll have it on the website too. I'll post that stuff later on as well. But all of it's open source. You can do whatever you want with it. It's under Creative Commons license, so feel free to check it out. You can even just go to see like how we recorded it or what we used, and all the effects and everything should be included with it. So there you go. Built it on Ubuntu Studio. So if you have that, you can,
Ubuntu Studio.
yeah,
products.
we've been really happy using Ubuntu
it's
Studio, and it's been great.
Fantastic.
So that is what we got. Thank you for joining us in our practice space with all of our crap around us. And that seemed like it. I feel like there should be like a sign off, but we don't have one. So I'm just going to say goodbye and thanks for joining. Ooh, your hand.
Good night and good luck.
All right. So long, everyone.
Cheers.